Welcome to Monsters Multiclass. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And on this episode, we're diving into all the new spells added in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So let's jump into it.
All right. So, first thing to note is that a lot of these spells here are reprinted from the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. Just to reiterate from the Sorcerer conversation we just had, the Skag is no longer Adventure League legal, so they cut out a whole bunch, put them into this book. So we might not go over absolutely all of them in detail, but there were some changes to Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade, and like a ton of controversy around it. So I think it is probably in our best interest to clarify what the heck happened there. First off, the change was that they made it so that Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade no longer have a range of self. It's now 5 feet, or is it the other way around? Did I already mess this up? Already messed it up because D&D Beyond's all over the place. It says self 5 feet. How is that helpful?
The range of self, the area is 5 feet.
Right. So this had everybody up in arms because they thought it destroyed Warcaster and made you unable to use it as a reaction anymore because of the range, because it's supposed to be the target is within 5 feet, but the target is different from the actual range of the spell, which is its own whole confusing thing. So it doesn't touch Warcaster at all. What it does mess up is pole arms. You can no longer Booming Blade from 10 feet away, which people were only doing, as far as I can find, by being a sorcerer who uses a pole arm, or a 10-foot long melee weapon, and then using the distant spell so that they can, distant meta magic, so that they can Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade from 10 feet away. That's not really that common. Or great, even? Why would a sorcerer ever use a polearm?
I think it was a dip into it to grab it for that. Also, this kills twinning it.
Yes.
Previously, you could twin Booming Blade. No, you can no longer do that.
Which is good.
Which I think is okay. I think twinning it was a little broken. I mean, Booming Blade sort of already is borderline, maybe a little too strong. So
borderline.
We might catch a lot of flack for this because a lot of people are upset about this. But I think it's probably better off getting rid of twinning Booming Blade.
Yes. That said, it does allow for paladins who cast Find Greater Steed and rangers, or Beastmaster rangers. It lets them have their companions, the horse or the beast, Booming Blade. Because there's abilities that allow, if you cast a spell on self, then you can have it target your steed or your beast master. That's not right. Just your beast.
A spell you cast on yourself impacts.
Right. So
steed or the companion. Yeah.
Paladins and rangers have a way to now use Booming Blade and have it affect twice. They can actively twin it to some extent.
Which is a little weird. Is that official or...
Yes.
No, he's making stuff up.
No, I'm not.
What blade is the horse hitting an enemy with?
It doesn't have to be a blade.
A weapon.
A melee weapon.
Right.
Worth at least
you
one
brandish
silver.
the weapon.
Oh, right. What they did add, I'm sorry, you're right. They added a cost factor into the blade. Or into the weapon, where it now has to be...
A melee weapon worth at least 1 silver.
Right.
So it has to be a thing.
Right, so unless you put, magical or, silvered hooves on the horse, which you can't do for Find Greater Steed, they're not officially attacking with a weapon, I believe. So that
also,
is
it's also just Find Steed or Find Greater Steed.
Yes.
And it's one sentence dedicated to this. While mounted on your steed, you can make any spell you cast that targets only you, also target your speed. So the steed is not casting it. I don't think they need that material component.
That makes sense to me. So that means that, yes, they would be able to have their weapon attack, which even their hooves or bite would count as a weapon attack. That could then Booming Blade.
Is that how that would work? It's weird.
It's what the people are saying.
I don't know.
The people say a lot of dumb shit.
Remember I talked about alienating fans? I feel like we go through this.
Yeah, and I came to the conclusion it's fine.
He's not alienating our fans. He's alienating people who aren't our fans, which is bad. We have a lot less people who aren't our fans than we do fans. So
it feels pretty cheesy and rules lawyery. Like, I understand raw how you can make the argument that, yeah, I'm mounted on my steed and I cast Booming Blade, and so then my horse should be able to kick someone in the face and also Booming Blade them. But I think as a DM, I just kind of say no. That seems like a really stretched interpretation.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that
really wonky.
That is allowed. Rules is written. I agree. I hate it. I already hate Booming Blade, as I've said tons of times. I think that people who are in love with gishes are greedy and need to stop and just tone it down. And that wanting every single gish cantrip to be like the greatest thing in the world and have all of these broken uses where they can do like 20 d8 damage, it's just too much. Let's just tone it down a little bit. But rules is written. I think that's what you can do.
Yeah. Also, I think this change does kill Warcaster, doing it as an opportunity attack with Warcaster. The wording is, so it's talking about you cast a spell as an opportunity attack. The spell must have a casting time of 1 action and must target only that creature. It now targets self.
You do not. The casting range is self. The target is who you are attacking. Jeremy Crawford, I'm pretty sure, actually clarified this one.
Oh, okay.
At least that wasn't the intent. So maybe rules is intended. It wasn't trying to kill Warcaster.
Got it. Okay.
I believe I'd have to look up the clarification again. This is why this was such an annoying thing. It's like
they should have just dropped this spell entirely.
They should have said we're banning the Skag, and everyone was like, what about Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade? And they're like, we said we're banning the Skag. I'd have been happier. I'd have been much happier.
This clarification is so clearly a language hack that they thought was incredibly clever, and it is kind of pretty clever. But within 5 minutes, everyone's like, all right, but what about? And they're like, oh, shit.
Right.
We're back. We're back.
They should have rewritten the spell.
Yeah.
I think that's probably would have been the best way. Because also this change is subtle enough where if someone's not really into the community and involved on Reddit and Twitter and seeing all this like we are regularly, easily missing it. Like, I could see myself missing it, seeing, it's just probably reprinted in here just for the Player Handbook +1 book, Adventure in League rule, and that's it, and not even notice they changed it to self.
Yeah, this changes absolutely nothing about how we play, and probably never will. Hopefully won't. If anybody tries to make a sorcerer gish, I guess the paladin, the Polurderer.
I would say sorcerer, Polurderer. I mean, that is great.
But if you bring a Polurderer to the table, I'm gonna be mad. Like, that's not cool. That's like stepping on things that we have rules, Kevin. A social agreement not to ever play a Polurderer.
Yeah, we don't have rules. It's kind of a social contract not to ruin encounters.
Right. All right.
Green Flame Blade has the exact same change. So
yes.
Everything is still the same there. Lightning Lure, I think is that changed or just reprinted?
Just reprinted.
Okay. So that's nothing new.
Or if it was changed, nobody was yelling about it. So
right.
Nothing I saw. I do not believe there's any changes though.
Yeah. All right. Then Mind Sliver. This is a new cantrip in this book. And I love this. I think it's fantastic because it's a cantrip. It's a 1 action, range of 60 feet, just verbal components. You drive a disorienting spike of psychic energy into the mind of one creature you can see within range. They make an intelligence saving throw, which is just great because usually those are bad. Those are just kind of universally bad. Or they take 1d6 psychic damage and subtract 1d4 from the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. And then this damage goes up as cantrips do. The 1d4 subtraction does not go up, but I think that's fine because D&D's 5th edition is built around bounded accuracy, and even though health keeps inflating and you need damage to go up to match it, the 1d4 from saving throws and whatnot, and it should be fine.
Yeah, totally agree. Love the fact that it targets intelligence, as you said. That's usually bad, not just for enemies, but also for players. Quite often, the intelligence is bad. So this is a good one for DMs to keep in their pocket if you want somebody to fail your next roll. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I always love ways to improve your odds of your big spell going off. Because there are a lot of spells where that kind of save or suck, where it's like it's one save, and if the enemy fails to save, it's really great for you, and if they pass the save, nothing happens, and it feels like a wasted turn. So I always look for various things, like sorcerers have the heightened spell, I think it is.
Yeah, that sounds
they,
right.
they have one. It's like 3 sorcery points, and they give a disadvantage on a saving throw. That's pretty expensive. So here's just another way to do it, and you don't need to be a sorcerer. Sorcerer, warlocks, and wizards get this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, could set it up nicely. Nice combinations.
So definitely a good addition. I think this and Sword Burst, which is the next one. These are the only new cantrips. I guess
Sword Burst isn't new.
Sword Burst is not. Oh yeah, that is Sword.
No, that's
from
Sword Burst Adventure. Yeah, there's nothing. As far as I can tell, there's nothing new about Sword Burst. It's just an AOE around you. Does dex save, 1d6 force damage. It's a cantrip.
Yeah. So a little disappointed. I would have liked a couple more cantrips. Just more spells in general is always kind of nice. The fact that 4 out of the... Wait, was that 5 out of the 6 of them? I can't do math. Jeez. 4 out of the 5 of them are reprints is a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, the only new cantrip is Spine Sliver. There is a new first level spell, Tasha's Caustic Brew. Like that first level, 1 action to cast it. It's a concentration spell for 1 minute. And a stream of acid emanates from you in a 30-foot long wide. That's 5 feet wide in any direction you choose. Each creature in the line must succeed on a dex saving throw or be covered in acid for the duration, or until the creature uses its action to scrape off or wash the acid off itself or another creature. If a creature is covered in this acid, it takes 2d4 acid damage at the start of each turn. This can be upcasted for increasing the damage by 2d4 for every spell slot above first.
But how do you scrape acid off of yourself without getting more acid onto you? You just
it's magic acid. It knows it's being scraped off and surrenders.
Right. It's like, oh, well, hey, they used their action. That's fair. That's fair game. This is actually a pretty cool first level spell. I feel like first level spells usually bore me a little bit, which is, I mean, that's like their intent. But the fact that this is 30-foot line, 5 feet wide, you're able to hit multiple creatures. It makes them, if they fail, give up an action or take damage. There's choice involved. Really interesting. It scales okay. I mean, another 2d4 per level is nice. I see this getting a lot of use, especially in the levels 1 to 7 range.
Yeah, earlier on. The fact that it's concentration is a little rough.
Yes.
Which I assume the intent there is if your concentration breaks, the acid goes away.
Yeah. One thing I weirdly like about that is it's like a concentration spell that you're not expecting to keep the entire fight. It's like if you get 2 rounds out of it and one person who has to give up an action and maybe do like a bit of damage, you're like, yeah, that was good. That was a worthwhile spell. But you're not stuck with it the entire time or like really hoping that it stays the entire time, which is weird. It like sits into this place where I'm happy it's not super great, so that when concentration breaks, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's fair. Aren't there fire spells where it'll catch them on fire and then it's basically the exact same thing, but there's no concentration involved?
There's some. So,
but it might be higher level.
There's one spell that's kind of like this with these like damage over time spells. A lot of them, what they do is you just make the save again at the end of their turns, which sucks. That is the worst way to do it. And it ruins a spell like Immolation. You know, this burning in action always makes it worthwhile.
You said always makes it worthwhile?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, because then, you know, if they fail, they at the least... And again, it creates a choice because 2d4 damage isn't that severe. I could easily see the creature, maybe they hit really hard, and they're like, it's going to be better for me to spend my action beating the crap out of the caster than to take an entire action and try and get rid of this goo.
For sure.
So it adds a lot of tactics that I think is what I appreciate.
In terms of the fire stuff I was talking about, the only thing I'm seeing is Searing Smite.
That does light them on fire, right?
It lights them on fire. But they also get to remake their save. So
right. Yeah, the only one
so
that
actually this might be unique in that sense. I know there's definitely monster abilities where you can get light. Like if you fight a fire elemental, you catch on fire very almost every turn with them, and you can take your action to put yourself out. There's a lot of stuff like that, but I guess not spell. That's probably all I was thinking of. So yeah, no, I like it. I think it'll definitely get its uses. At the worst, I mean, just because you can hit more than one, most likely you will, at the very worst, just waste someone's action, which is actually pretty good. But more than likely, you'll do a bit of damage and possibly waste more than one action.
At the very, very worst, they all succeed on their dex saving throws, and no one takes any damage at all. Because if they succeed...
there's no half.
Yeah, there's no half. So that's, worst case scenario. But it's a first level spell. It's how much can you ask for?
Right.
And I really like that it's an artificer spell. Should mention that as well. Obviously, very fitting for an artificer. Take that.
Yeah. Cool. Then next up within spell level here, we get to the summon spells. Summon Beast, and I think we can just talk about all of them at once. And we really covered these kind of in depth in the Ranger episode because they get a Summon Fae for free. But there's a whole bunch of these. There's Summon Beast, Summon Fae, Summon Shadow Spawn, Summon Aberration, so on and so on. They basically all work the same, so we're just going to kind of lump them together and cover through it real quick. Most of them are casting time of an action with concentration of an hour. And I'm just saying most of them because I haven't clicked on every individual one, but probably all of them. You then summon a spirit. And like Summon Beast, you summon a bestial spirit. It is a stat block within the spell. So this is replacing in my mind, it replaces a lot of the older summon spells where you have to go and find a stat block in the monster manual, which is kind of cumbersome. And it tries to handle it by, if you upcast it, you get more challenge ratings or more monsters with certain challenge ratings. And so you could end up with 6 challenge rating 1/8 things, which is usually optimal, but it bogs combat down like crazy, and it's a mess. So all of these, you just summon the stat block in the spell, and the stat block is boosted based on the spell level. Like the armor class of the Bestial Spirit is 11 plus the level of the spell. So by default, you cast it at 2nd level, but you can cast it at 5th and have an armor class of 16. Its hit points are 20 or 30, depending on some options that you pick, plus 5 for each spell level above 2nd. Their multi-attack is...
Well, it's not even
spell
worth...
attack modifier.
I hate to stop you midway, but it's not even worth going into just the beast specifically. It's a stat block. You read the stat block. I think that's the important part. Beast specifically is a pretty good 2nd level one. But if we go through each of these, it'll probably be its own whole conversation.
Right. No, I'm not going through each. I was just using this as the quick example. Saying the attack, when you attack, it's your spell attack modifier to hit, plus a damage, plus the spell's levels. And it does piercing damage, stuff like that. So they're all built like that. Yeah. And it usually has a choice. So with the beast, you could pick air, land, or water. And then that will impact his hit points. And then special abilities, like if you pick air, it has flyby, where it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Land and water has pack tactics. Water has water breathing. Also the swim speed, stuff like that.
Right.
I think it's a lot more condensed and efficient and clever way to handle summoning, and I'm really glad they put one out there for basically every monster type you could want to summon.
Yep. The only negative I have is the stat blocks themselves are extremely messy, and to the point that if you just tried to just pull this out of nowhere, you're like, oh, I haven't cast this spell yet, and tried doing it, you're going to spend 3 or 5 minutes looking at the stat block and being like, oh, okay, so it gets more health because of the level I cast it at. It gets more armor because of the level, or is that the ability? Okay, and you'd have to basically pre-fill these out in order to be quick with them, but it's still going to be quicker than summoning 8 CR8s and turning everybody into T-Rexes.
Right. Yeah. And that's these summon spells are half of them, so we just covered a lot.
Yep.
And again, we also went really in depth, specifically to summon Fae, but also just kind of a general discussion in our Tasha's Ranger episode, which was our previous episode. So you can check that out for an even more in-depth discussion.
Are you gonna?
Oh,
are you gonna put links?
Thing on
yeah,
YouTube? Yeah.
Put a link right there.
I'm pointing to it. Yeah.
There you go.
Annotations.
That'll work
Actually,
well.
no, it's not going to work well because it needs to be in one of the corners. And like,
it doesn't have to be. Oh, well,
I'm pretty sure it has to be one of the corners. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You'll see it.
Put it up there, right there.
Yeah,
it's recording my screen, so
yeah.
I got it. I know what mine looks like, Kevin, and that's what. Oh, unless you're saying it's it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
boom.
Right. It doesn't. Yeah.
Everyone do it at once.
Somewhere on the screen.
Everyone do it at once. Okay, good enough.
All right, moving on.
Tasha's Mind Whip.
Another second level spell. It is a casting time of 1 action, and it lasts for a round range of 90 feet, just a verbal component. You cyclically lash out at one creature you can see within range. The target makes an int saving throw. On a failed save, they take 3d6 psychic damage, and they cannot take reactions until its next turn. Moreover, on its next turn, it must choose whether it gets a move, an action, or a bonus action, and it gets only one of the 3. On a success, the target takes half as much damage and there's no other effects. You can upcast this to target more than one creature.
Interesting that it lets you target more creatures instead of doing more damage.
Yeah.
Because they know what the benefit of this is. You don't care as much about the 3d6 damage as you do that you can stop somebody from doing anything more than moving, action, or bonus action, which is usually like the effects of the slow spell or that effect. It's always debilitating. To only be able to do one thing. So
yeah. Oh, for sure. No, this is, I think, fantastic and really great to target like the big enemy on the battlefield to really shut them down. It is only sorcerer and wizard, so there's a chance you just may not see it too often if you don't have a sorcerer and wizard. Though I would not be surprised if there's certain subclasses and others that get this for free.
None yet.
Look in that much detail
for our D&D Beyond. If it says if there's available for, it would add any subclasses. Right. So
True.
Right now it's just these 2.
Nope. Okay. Yeah, I can
well,
see
what do you expect, right? They're not going to go back and add it to things that it wasn't there for.
Right. Only thing would be if
this would fit well for a Great Old One or something like that.
Yeah,
to some extent. But Tasha's has a theme to it.
Yeah, that's the only one I could see. Warlock.
Yeah, I could see using this all the time. And it's also really great how it's not concentration.
Yeah.
For that.
Well, of course, because right, yeah, because that would really ruin it if you had to focus on it for that entire round for it to actually take effect.
Mm-hmm.
That would suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. I think it's great.
Hooray! They added a good spell.
This is a good spell. The only thing I worry about is it almost feels a little bit spammable. Like against the big bad evil guy, just like
because it's
just
that intelligence
hitting him with this
intelligence saving throw. That's a fair point. It might be because it targets intelligence. It might be a little bit strong. I don't really know how you could counter this at all, besides having high intelligence. But there's no concentration to break, as you just said.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like legendary resistance.
Right, of course.
This is then kind of makes it a legendary resistance killer because that's always a strategy to try and have the boss that has that waste them and blow through them. And usually any spell that's worth them using it on is higher anyways, and so you're really not doing that. Here's a second level spell where it's actually kind of worth it to use the legendary resistance on.
Right. Which makes it really strong. So I guess that's the limitation is how many spell slots you have. But you can still
the new meta is 4 sorcerers per party spamming mind whips against your big bad evil guy.
They still get legendary actions. It doesn't take away legendary actions at all.
Right, yeah. All right, 3rd level Intellect Fortress. This is a casting time of 1 action, duration of 1 hour, 30-foot range, just a verbal component. For the duration, you or one willing creature within range has resistance to psychic damage, as well as advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. You can upcast it to pick more people. Bards, sorcerers, warlock, wizards, and artificers get those.
I don't know how impressed I am with it. I don't think it's bad, but it is situational, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially for 3rd level and concentration. And it's just the mental saving throws. If it's advantage on all saving throws, that's obviously a very different story, but...
It's really great if you're about to go fight a mind flayer.
You want this before you enter combat.
Yes, that's obvious. But still, like, you have to know what you're fighting, and you have to hope that it targets the mental stuff, and...
Yeah, this plays really well into the kind of power fantasy of a wizard, like the archetype of that, where they have this huge list of spells, and they can't know all of them at once, and so they plan out what they're doing and really look into it, and I go, oh, this stuff's been going on in that cave. That sounds like that might be Mind Flayer. I should take Intellect Fortress.
Yep.
And we'll cast it on us before we go in as a higher level spell. This plays really, really well into that. Yeah, something you pop in the middle of combat. It's like, if you now know that you desperately need to make a charisma or an intelligence saving throw, it's
too late. Too late. Yeah, great point. I'm also wondering if, you know what? That's what I was going to say. That I think this would be a great spell to give a wizard in a spell book. Like, I don't think they'd ever choose this on a level up, but if you found a spell scroll and copied it into your spell book, then it just kind of sits there until it's useful, as you said. Then that's a fantastic way to do it. Definitely. But when you go into these big fights, it's a really hard trade-off trying to say is, what's more important to concentrate on? This resistance to psychic damage and advantage on these saves, or is it going to be something that does damage or just something else? I mean, this concentration is the most important resource in 5th edition.
Right. And again, it just goes back to what you're fighting. Any aberration, you're going to want to use this probably. It's probably better than anything else. Especially like a buff, like, oh, I'm going to haste the paladin barbarian. And then the aberration just takes control over them.
Well.
It's like, oh, well.
How are you hasting them? You already used your concentration spell.
What do you mean?
Haste is concentration as well.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
somebody
what I'm saying.
else, yeah.
Where using this over like haste when you're fighting aberrations.
Oh, I got
like,
you.
When you're fighting the type of stuff where this Intellect Fortress is built for, like Mind Flayers and aberrations and things like that, it's buffing your party is kind of a scary idea.
Yeah, no,
there's a really good chance that the memory of your party is going to be turned on you.
That is totally fair. So yeah, situational, but in the situation, love it. Next one up is Spirit Shroud. So this one, 3rd level as well. Bonus action to cast, concentration of 1 minute. You call forth some spirits of the dead who flit around you for the spell's duration, and until the spell ends, any attacks you make deal an extra 1d8 damage to creatures within 10 feet of you, and the damage is either radiant, necrotic, or cold, and creatures that take this damage can't regain HP until the start of your next turn, and then any creature of your choice that you can see that starts its turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 until the start of your next turn. So a lot going on with one spell.
Yeah, to me it seems like it's competing with, I'm drawing a blank on the name, I'm trying to pull it up. There's a cleric spell, 3rd level as well.
Spirit Guardians?
Yes. And I know more than just clerics get this new one.
Yeah.
But it just kind of seems like a weaker version of Spirit Guardian. Which does, I know, like in a crazy amount of damage just automatically. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3d8 radiant damage, and it's just like the aura around you.
So I see a paladin.
Yeah, designate creatures, yeah.
Probably a paladin casting this most often. Their concentration is usually not used on anything. If they get 3rd level spells, they're generally higher level. They get 2 attacks per round, which is great. So that they'll get 2d8 extra damage when they hit creatures. If you compare Spirit Guardians, which is 3d8 on a wisdom save, versus 2d8 damage that can crit, because if you're critting as a paladin on one of these, that extra damage would crit too, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That sounds right.
Because it's from the same source. And creatures aren't able to regain HP. That's kind of flavor, almost. Not even flavor, just I don't think monsters regenerate HP that often. When they do, this is going to be great to stop that, but that's not why you're casting the spell usually. It's going to be for that extra 2d8 damage, and I don't know how much the speed reduction matters.
Yeah, keep in mind it's not just regenerate, it's regain. I take that from any source.
Yes.
They can't even be healed.
Correct. But how often do bad guys try to heal up? I just don't think it happens that often.
That's true.
Also, a fun one to give to an enemy. I would definitely love to.
Oh, yeah.
I think this would hurt players almost more, if not equally.
Right.
So
this does compete well with Hex too. For a Hex Blade.
Okay.
It's not perfect overlap, but in a situation where you don't have the 24-hour Hex up, a situation like that, starting combat, going into this would probably make a lot of sense.
For sure. Yeah. I just got through playing the Hexblade Warlock, and that bonus action cost of moving the Hex around is always a little... I felt it, because there was lots of different options to do with the bonus action, and so this is you just cast it once as a bonus action at the beginning, and then you're good for the combat. You don't have to keep
and it does a little bit more
it.
damage, and it slows, So it's better, but, 1 minute.
It adds tactics. Again, that same thing as I was saying with the Tasha's Caustic Brew, is I like it because it's more interesting than just it does damage. It does damage and all these other things that in the right situations, you're going to be really happy you have it. Also, Upcast, really good. If we're talking about that Hexblade or a Paladin, if you're casting this at 5th level, then it does 2d8 extra damage per hit. And that's really starting to add up.
Right.
That's for a Warlock, that's massive. For a Paladin, where are we when we've got 5th levels to burn? 17. 17th level is when you get your first.
That's fair.
So less.
And you're probably better off just using it for smite. Well, I don't know if that's true, actually. This is better than smiting, because
it's
smiting...
every turn. Every turn will do 2d8 damage.
Right. So that's much better. So there's still benefit, but you're right. That's really late game.
Yeah, so if I was a cleric, I think I would always use Spirit Guardians. Or if you had access to it through whatever means. But like Paladins, really anything else, I think.
Yeah, I think
you definitely get use out of it.
Only time as a cleric is in those situations where you're going to fight something that maybe does regenerate. Like that's an active thing you have to deal with. But then to get its full use out of it, you're going to be swinging your hammer. If you're one of those clerics that is more geared towards melee, maybe it's worthwhile, but you're still only going to get 1d8 extra damage per turn.
Right, because you don't get extra attack.
Yeah. Unless you do your Warcast, is that not Warcaster, the War Cleric.
Domain?
Yeah, War Domain, get your bonus action attack.
Like 3 times a day, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep in mind it's any attack, so spell damage will also...
Yeah, that's right.
But it's within 10 feet of you. Yeah, that's pretty limited.
But remember, there's cantrips that force a save, so...
When you make an attack.
Oh, you're right.
Any attack you make deals. Yeah,
yes.
So it's not really...
Doesn't count for those. Never mind.
Yeah.
Within 10 feet, you might be able to set it up perfectly. Where you're like, oh, let me cast my Eldritch Blast from just 10 feet away, and then move backwards afterwards.
Right. All right. Now, next on this, we get into all the summon ones. So, like I said, we're just going to skip those. There's a lot of them. Which leaves us with 3 more. If you want to finish these up, Jared.
Sure, why not? Tasha's Otherworldly Guise is our first one. This is a 6th level spell, which just right away I would like to say, super disappointed that we go from 3rd level to 6th level with only summon spells in between. I mean, come on. Let's get some more spells already. But the first one here is pretty long, this Tasha's Otherworldly Guise. It is a bonus action to cast. The whole thing is you are just transforming yourself into a lower plane or upper plane entity, your choice. So when you cast the spell, you're immune to fire and poison damage or radiant and necrotic damage. So fire and poison is lower planes, radiant, necrotic, upper planes. That's going to keep... Well, it's just this next one. Anyways, you're immune to the poison condition, lower planes, or the charm condition, upper planes. After that, spectral wings appear on your back, giving you a 40-foot flying speed, +2 bonus to your AC. All weapons are magical, and you can use your spellcasting ability instead of strength or dex for attack and damage rolls. And you can attack twice instead of once when you take the attack action. If you already have the extra attack feature, though, that's just ignored. You don't get another attack. So a spell that's really great for gishes, which means I hate it.
I wouldn't even say it's that great for gishes. It's too high. For this to be great for gishes, they need to get it early on and be able to cast it almost every combat.
Right.
This is like a pretty... I mean, if you're multiclass and a martial with a spellcaster, there's a really good chance you will never even see a 6th level spell. And if you do, you'll probably have one per long rest. And like the +2 bonus to AC is nice, but there's a lot cheaper and easier ways to do that.
Yeah.
And like the immune to fire or poison or radiant necrotic's really awesome. Like full immunity is rare and very powerful. So that is good, but again, that's kind of good for anybody. And same with the condition or charm, poison or charm conditions. But then the rest of it, like if you are a gish, you have found a way to give yourself extra attack. Like if you were relying on the 6th level spell to get extra attack for your build to come online, it's not really viable.
I guess in theory, before you go too far, it could make a straight blade singer more enticing.
Sure. I guess it would be kind of a boost.
Oh wait, do they get extra attack?
To that. They do, actually. Yeah, they get extra attack at 6th level.
Never mind. I take that back.
And then all your weapon attacks are magical, and when you make a weapon attack, you could use your ability modifiers on strength or dexterity. And again, like if you have not already found a way to do that, and you are able to cast 6th level spells, you have already committed points to strength or dex. Because again, otherwise you're just not a viable character. So this is the type of thing where you are mainly a caster who just needs to go ham and melee for a minute, which is kind of situational, a little odd.
But it doesn't even give you proficiency in a weapon either,
Right,
which is important to note. So that it's not like you can just, I've got my greatsword that I pull out for when I go into my otherworldly guise. It's like, I'm still a wizard. I don't have proficiency in any melee weapons, just simple weapons. So I guess I can beat you with my club.
Right.
And do 1d6
and you could
damage.
get it through like racial stuff.
Right. There's other ways. It's true.
But still, like, so if you're a Hexblade, the bottom 2 don't impact you at all because you already get extra attack and you're already using your charisma. +2. Then the first 3 are nice, or first 4.
Yeah, fly speed.
Is that worth a 6th level?
Yeah, the question is, are these 4 worth that for any of the 3? Which is like a warlock was the only one that makes sense.
Yeah. Again, a fly speed with +2 AC is nice. Again, I don't think I'd want to blow a 6th level spell on that.
It is wrapping up a lot of things into one spell slot. So if you need a fly speed, great. You don't have to just cast fly. You're getting fly and a +2 bonus to AC and immune to poisoned or charmed and immune to fire and poison or radiant necrotic. Like all of these things are like a bunch of lower level spells just kind of wrapped into one and all put into one concentration blanket. That doesn't immediately make it good, though. I think it just makes it a little scattered as we're finding out, like, who is this really good for? No one, but everyone.
Yeah, the immunity is nice. That's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Are there spells that give you immunity to damage types? I know there's ones to get resistance.
Probably high level ones like this. There might be 1 or 2. But it's not like there's no cast a 5th level spell, gain immunity to a damage type of your choice or anything like that. So, I think you've got the right idea, Kevin, where this is for your run-of-the-mill casters who just one day, whatever the situation it is, really need to be able to do this. Sad part is, Sorcerer and Warlock, they don't really get to just swap out spells or know a bunch of them. Wizard learns new spells, maybe they find a way to get this 6th level spell just lying around that they can copy from a scroll. Probably isn't going to happen. I would almost rather this as a scroll, though, for the one time it comes up. for the one time that I really need this,
Right.
instead of having to prepare it ever.
Right.
All of that said, a bonus action to cast, that's a plus.
Sure. Yeah.
At least it's a bonus action.
Also, it costs 500 gold every time you want to do it.
Does it consume that?
It doesn't say it consumes it upon casting. You just have to have it.
No, you're right. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. That's that one. Next is Dream of the Blue Veil. So this is a 7th level ability with a lot more flavor than use. Casting time is 10 minutes. Duration is 6 hours. You and up to 8 willing creatures within range fall unconscious for the spell's duration, and you experience some visions of another world. That world depends on, I guess, only buying official 5th edition supplements, because it says the material.
Such as.
I know. You can only go to Eberron.
Toriel Kryn?
Kryn, yeah. Which that's a Explorer's Guide to Wildmount thing, I think.
Okay.
I think. The Kryn Dynasty's a thing. Anyways, if the spell reaches its full duration of 10 minutes, the visions conclude with each of you encountering and pulling back a mysterious blue curtain. The spell then ends with you mentally and physically transported to the world that was in the visions. To cast this spell, you must have a magic item that originated on the world you wish to reach. You must be aware of the world's existence, even if you don't know the world's name, and your destination in the other world is a safe location within 1 mile of where the magic item was created. Alternatively, you can cast the spell if one of the affected creatures was born on the other world, which causes your destination to be within 1 mile of their birthplace. The spell ends early on a creature if that creature takes any damage and the creature is not transported. If you take any damage, the spell ends for you and all other creatures with none of you being transported. Wow. Can I just have plane shift?
No.
It's different.
Totally different. This is a different universe, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like being in Faerun and showing up in
The Greyhawk setting, which I don't know the name of.
Yeah, I don't know. I completely.
This is like being in Skyrim and showing up in a RimWorld from Halo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's. So that being said, I mean, this is very much a story spell. The DM is giving this to you to use. Like, this is not something the player is going to pick and like, oh, I'll get some use out of that every few sessions. Like, no, you're not. The DM needs to set it up. So this is the type of spell I'd give to like a high level archmage for story reasons, or in the form of a spell scroll. Or maybe early on, the plot hook is level 1 adventures is you find some poor kid who needs to get home to Eberron. They have no idea how they got here in Faerun. And like there's...
How the fuck did you get here? I have no idea. I'm just scared and
that's
alone.
Part of the mystery. Who knows? And
I know.
There's all this intrigue and cross-planar shenanigans going on. You could build into it. And like there's a wizard in the party who knows if they get powerful enough, they think they can manage it, but it's going to take some time. And so this is this kind of ongoing long thing. Tripping over my words. The goal of this wizard in the party is to get the wizard to 7th level spells to learn this and get the kid home. And so then that's this really good adventuring excuse of traveling the land and gaining in power. We have to try protect this kid. All right, I like the spell. There's a campaign based around it.
Sure, but I would argue that I don't need this written in a book. This is a spell that, like, if you just wanted to say that, like, I don't need a 9th level spell that is fix all the campaign's problems. I just need the DM to set up a hook that is demons are coming from the 9 hells and you need to conduct a ritual that sends them back. Do I need rules around that spell? Does it matter? Does it add anything to the game to have hard-coded rules in this book? To me, no. It just the DM can just say, these are the 3 MacGuffins you need. You need a magic item. You need to kind of hang out for 10 minutes. And if you're casting it in an area where you're worried about taking damage, you're probably an idiot. Because you go unconscious for 10 minutes.
No, I get that. That being said, like, I feel like when I just came up with this kind of a cool campaign
You're
idea,
right.
And I never would have came up with this unless I read the spell. So it could be kind of like an inspiration thing. Here's some rules around it. Alternatively, maybe if you just want a really kind of wacky high level campaign where you were literally universe jumping, like, and here you go.
Sure.
Just how you could do it. Like, that's
sure.
We don't play those campaigns, but it'd be fun.
I won't say that the spell is bad or that it's worthless. It is a good source of inspiration. It's just when we talk about the whole idea of like, well, everything that goes into one of these books had something else not get printed. That's where I start to get like a little bit bothered. Like, this could have just been like something like, hey, everybody, here's some inspiration for your next campaign. And then that would have been fine. We didn't need to take up this book. As I was saying, there's no spells from 3rd level to 6th level. If this took up a 4th level spell, I'm sad. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. The opportunity cost of the spell being there.
Yes.
All right, I get that.
A lot of people don't know this. There's just this huge basket of really fun spells that they sit on. They're laughing. They laugh. They're like, they would love these spells. They'd make the game universally better. But we won't give them.
Let's even take it away from that. I complained a lot about the Ranger not having ability class variant features after 10th level. If this spell was put in instead of a 14th level Ranger class variant, I still don't think it was worthwhile, because this is something that is a insightful tweet or Reddit post. It's not a spell that I need.
Yeah.
To find insightful tweets or Reddit posts.
They're making. I suspect they're making something where everyone gets transported to that guy's new psychic realm, Wildemount. I don't know.
Wildemount.
The psychic realm of Wildemount.
But isn't having this spell be an option just setting up to ruin any of those campaign plot hooks? If somebody just gets teleported, if you just teleport a high-level party into a totally another realm and the whole thing is them getting back, and the wizard's just like, oh, once we level up, I'll just take this spell and then we'll just get back, guys. That's it.
What, you have to have 7th level spells. You have to get pretty high.
I know. I'm just...
And, like, survive for that long.
Sure.
Then, of course, you know how stories work. You're, all right, I'll build my power and we'll be really conservative and careful. And you're going to get sucked in to all the bullshit of the realm, and you're going to be thrust into the middle of the politics. And
well, I'm going to ignore it because I'm the player character and I just want to get home. So maybe the DM.
No, you can't ignore my plot hooks. Oh, yes, I can.
So,
I'm with you. It could have just been, an insightful tweet. That's totally fair.
Yeah. That's all right. All right, last spell. This is 9th level Blade of Disaster. This is a spiritual weapon on every stimulant that is known to man. So it is a bonus action to cast, duration of 1 minute, and concentration, which spiritual weapon isn't, so don't yell at me for comparing them. You create a blade-shaped planar rift about 3 feet long in an unoccupied space you can see within range. The blade lasts for the duration of 1 minute. When you cast the spell, you can make up to 2 melee attacks with the blade, each one against a creature, object, or structure within 5 feet of the blade. On a hit, the target takes 4d12, and it crits on 18, 19, or 20. And on a crit, it does an extra 8d12 force damage. Then, as a bonus action, on your turn, you can move the blade 30 feet on occupied space and make 2 more melee spell attacks with it. And lastly, it can move through barriers, including a wall of force.
It's pretty crazy. Super, super high damage.
It's not like game-breaking like most 9th level spells, which I'm
I was
fine
That was
with.
the only thing I'd say. Maybe it should have been an 8th level spell. That's the only thing I would say there.
But, like, nobody gets these anyways, so I don't care either way.
Right.
But I do just love the fact that it crits on 18, 19, or 20 and does 12d12 force damage. That's absurd.
Yeah.
This is pretty obviously an apology for Mordenkainen's sword, which is one of the most dog shit spells in the game.
I don't even remember that one.
Yeah.
So it's a 7th level spell that's basically this with none of the fancy stuff. It takes an action to cast and does 3d10 damage.
What's the name of the spell?
Mordenkainen's Sword.
There it is.
It is one of the worst 7th level spells in the game, just because it's just not tuned.
It takes a whole action to cast instead of a bonus
Nichols
action.
not a fan.
Oh.
Yeah, we're in video now. I can now show off my cat. It's not just me talking about my cat, which is mean. Nichols not a fan. All right, I'm gonna.
No, he doesn't look like a fan. Yeah, so that isn't very good. 7th level spell. It's like what, 1 attack instead of 2, 3d10 force damage, and you can move it 20 feet instead of 30. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It's worse than Spiritual Weapon.
Yeah,
it's just garbage.
I mean, it might do a little bit more.
Gave us this.
It might do a little more damage than Spiritual Weapon, but yeah, I mean, I guess what I would have appreciated is we talked about making this like a 7th level spell. Why not just make this a 7th level spell and have the damage be significantly less, and then let it be cast at an 8th or a 9th level and up the damage up to where it's at now? Like, they could have just made it weaker and upped it.
2d12 at 7th.
Right.
3d12 at 8th.
Yep. Yeah. Yep, and then you just not have to wait until 9th level to ever see it.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything that's outside of the damage it does. Maybe the Wall of Force, but like, man, how often are you dealing with a Wall of Force?
At 9th level, probably a lot. The DM's they get really obnoxious when you hit 9th level.
DMs?
Or 9th level spells. It's like, how do I fuck this over?
Yeah. I mean, a Wall of Force's thing is that it's like, it is impenetrable.
Right.
Except for this.
Can't be dispelled. It can't be... Oh, a Disintegrate spell destroys the wall instantly. But
it doesn't hit anything inside of it. You just target the Wall of Force.
But we do have precedent that a 6th level spell is able to overcome it. So if we had a 7th level spell able to overcome it, being this sword, dropping that from 9th to 7th, I think we'd still be in a fair and balanced territory.
God, that'd be so terrible if the big bad wizard's like, you'll never get through my Wall of Force. You'll have to burn a Disintegrate spell. Or just send a Blade of Disaster through there.
A 7th level spell.
The shit out of
That's your choice. Oh, well, Disintegrate is one and done compared to the Blade.
Right, yeah, you cast it once and it ends it, and it doesn't hurt anybody. It's not an AoE, so...
Right.
And plus now he's stuck in there with the sword, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's situationally useful, but... I don't know. Can you really ever see casting this over Wish? Like, you never get more than 1 9th level spell slot per day, right?
Correct. And yeah, because Wish has a cost to it. And it's if you you can only cast
if you push
8th.
it.
I thought if you use Wish, you can only cast 8th or below spells.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. All right, let me pull.
But that's like the whole thing with Wish. It's like, yes, you can cast any spell, but not a 9th level spell. That's broken.
Yeah, the basic use of the spell is to duplicate any spell of 8th or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements in the spell, including components. It simply takes effect for 1 action. So even like the casting time doesn't come in. So right away, that's pretty game breaking. There's a lot you could do there. Alternatively, you could create an object up to 25,000 gold in value, allow 20 creatures that you could see to regain all hit points and end all effects on them, grant up to 10 creatures resistance to damage type you choose, things like that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day with Wish, it does say there's a 33% chance that you're unable to cast a Wish spell ever again.
Is that every time you cast it? I'm pretty sure that's...
Oh, as any other effect other than
duplicating another spell weakens you. Oh, okay. So actually those bullet point items, though, does have that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Wish is really cool and all, but no, I want the giant sword.
Yeah, this is a great, it's comparable to Meteor Swarm, which is just, it makes you feel like a badass when you cast a 9th level spell, which is what it should do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say that, I mean, that's like a whole argument against Wish in general, which I don't know if we need to have, but I just don't think Wish is that fun compared to casting something that's huge, like Meteor Swarm, which I think is 8th level.
True polymorph.
Right, like all these things that you're like, oh my god, I did it. Wish just feels like, hey, I got you, DM. I did what I wanted. Yeah, okay. Good job.
Monkey paw.
Maybe it's that. It's all the hostility in Wish that, like, you can't just let people get away with wishes. You can't just cast a wish and just let them just do whatever they want. You gotta just destroy their character and just blow them up because they cast wish. Obviously, it's different if you're replicating a spell effect, but yeah.
Right.
I don't know. That's it. That's all the spells, though.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've made it.
Yeah,
through.
not a whole lot for a source book that's like the flavor of it. It was written by an extremely powerful wizard.
I didn't even think of that.
Spells.
Right.
That's like her thing.
No. Just summoning spells. I just like summoning spells.
Yeah.
Don't. No more.
For the most part, what's in there I like. I'm not like disappointed by this or anything.
No, same here. I just wish there was more. But obviously, I always want more. Xanathar's added more spells, so it's not like this is the first time we're getting spells ever.
Right. Basically every source book and also a lot of adventures have at least like a spell or two.
Yeah, one of these actually was first added in Icewind Dale. I don't remember which one, but when I clicked it, D&D Beyond gave
sword sort of.
I think Intellect Fortress. Disaster. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. One of them.
It's the sword one.
It's the sword one
we just went over.
The Blade of Disaster.
Yep.
Was in Icewind Dale. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a freebie then.
Counterpoint, I wish there was less spells in the game.
Just in general?
Less overall.
Okay.
Fewer numbers, fewer quantity, unless it's warlock spells.
Yeah, of course. Warlocks are the only ones who should get 9th level spells. Glad we're all in agreement. All right.
Cool. But yeah, I got nothing else on spells.
Okay. Me either. That's it.
Do you want to like tell them what to do?
I don't know.
Like shill ourselves. Like and subscribe and ring the bell and find our Reddit. Yeah, our Monsters in Multiclass. I'm pointing up there, even though that's not going to be up there. And we're on Twitter at Monsters in Multi, and we got a Patreon if you want. But we understand times are tough.
I think you got it covered then, dude.
No pressure there. Yeah,
you got.
Oh, we got merch. Oh, now they're on video.
Yeah. Hey, look, Monsters in Multiclass shirts. It's a good logo.
We got our website, monstersinmulticlass.com. And then if you do /support, you can get a link to our merchandise and dice affiliates and crap.
Or you can Google it and find all this stuff in the Google homepage.
Yeah. Yeah, these are also released as a podcast. Feels weird to say.
Oh, you're still going. Yeah, so anyways, I'll say all of that. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
No. We're ending it. It's going on too long.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Or watching. This video thing's hard to get used to, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cut it here.